I've been threatened with a blade a few times. I've never been stabbed. I've been battered for drug debts, just for no being on time, and for acting up basically, and for basically trying to do something about the situation.
Chris is 16. We've changed his name and voice to protect him from the organised crime gang who used him to deal drugs, lured in by older boys he thought were his friends when he was just 14 years old.
Oh, they seemed like boss men to me, you know? They seemed like they were top tier people, you know, top of the tree. At the time it was all about your credit. So if your pals were doing it, then you wanted to do it to make yourself feel cool, to make yourself feel included. But at the same time it came with a lot of problems like violence and debt. Quite often you'll get set up to get robbed. So be them that's robbing you, their team. Just so they can go back and go, oh, I heard you got robbed. Here's another bit of weed to sell. Your debt doubles.
Across the UK, tens of thousands of children are at risk of being exploited by criminal networks known as county lines gangs, coerced into transporting drugs from cities into towns and rural areas, often using dedicated mobile phone lines. The charity Action for Children launched an intervention service in Glasgow, which now operates in 8 areas across Scotland, England and Wales, reaching out to young people who are often treated as criminals rather than victims.
Exploitation isn't just offences committed by children, that it is things like threats to their life, that children and families have to move out of their communities for fear of what might happen to them, that they're seriously assaulted and in worse circumstances they may be killed.
The charity has helped more than 500 children since 2020 and has gathered new data to highlight the harrowing consequences. In the last 4 years, 179 serious incidents were reported. 33% of these involved a weapon, including knives, metal poles, even dog chains. 12% involved children being trafficked across the UK. 50 children were stabbed and 2 children were murdered.
I know these kids in the communities, and I know the outcome that's waiting for them, so I thought I can pour myself into this and hopefully make a difference.
This man, who we're calling Jimmy, was involved in organised crime for more than 20 years. We've changed his voice. He went to prison. Now he's a support worker trying to steer children down a different path.
I know poverty, I know chaos, I know trauma, I know the distrust these young people have towards professionals and social workers and the police. I grew up with that distrust myself and I can connect.
Jimmy connected with Chris, helping him escape his situation.
So he kind of put it quite bluntly. You were either going to jail or you're going to the grave. I mean, there's 2 options, and kind of both lead to the same outcome. I had to sort a lot of things out. It involved paying all my debts back, making sure I was fine with everybody, that nobody was going to come after me in that. But for some people it can be a lot more difficult than that. I come from quite a good background. The target isn't always just people from bad backgrounds. It's people from anywhere.
Jimmy says early intervention is key.
We don't believe in a hopeless case. We think there's a hopeless situation, but there's still a soul in there. There's still a young person in there. So it's about getting alongside them, trying to empower them, trying to equip them, being consistent in my message to them. And then the hope is the penny drops. On the ground, what we need is this. Truthfully, we need more finance. We need money. It's going to take lived experience guys coming in and being paid well, because it's a damn good job, but it's also a damn difficult job.
Chris knows he's one of the lucky ones. He's speaking out to try and help others.
Don't hesitate to look out for help. Don't hesitate to be known as a grass. These people that are calling you a grass will not be alive in 10 years' time to call you a grass. So take yourself out of it.
Support remains patchy across the UK. Many children still suffer in silence, unsure of where to turn.
Well, in response to Kathryn's report, the Scottish Government says it is working with stakeholders to determine gaps in the current system and to respond appropriately to improve our response to child criminal exploitation. We're waiting for a response from the UK Home Office.